All right, hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to this weekly market check-in with myself, Greta Wall. I'm your host, and I'm joined by David Prince, the leader of T3 Live's Inner Circle Virtual Trading Floor. Hi, David. Happy Thursday. How's your day going so far?
My day is going well. So far, so good. No complaints.
All right, good stuff. All right, let's get straight to what we're discussing today. The title of our stream today is Fed Disappoints, and they definitely disappointed the market yesterday, but getting a bit of a bounce back today. Let's first talk about what happened yesterday and then what is going to happen from here. So we got a hawkish Fed rate cut yesterday. That was expected by most of the market, especially yourself. 25 basis point cut. The dot plot now showing just two cuts in 2025 and 2026 as well, and then one in 27. Really the focus for the market and what many say was the nail in the coffin yesterday was those higher PCE expectations for 2025, showing 2.5% inflation by the end of next year versus previous expectations for 2.1%. And as you tweeted a quote from Powell, he said, "We are at a new phase in this cycle." So, talk about how you were positioned heading into this rate cut and how, initially the reaction from you, I know, was, the market was expecting this, but then things really went to crap
Right.
uh, on across the street yesterday after as Powell was speaking. So how you reacted to the decision as well.
All right. So, how we planned for it was I simply said, listen, I get it. We're in the most bullish time of year, but everything's risk reward. And I see much more downside potential, even though I don't think the market should crack on this Fed meeting. I definitely think we can go down, and it's probably a move you can buy on the downside, right? And see much less upside. So just based on that risk reward, if we're up a lot in certain positions, you have to size down. Like it just risk reward doesn't set up. Example, shorts that we were in, we kept some, like we had shorted Tesla, Palantir, because that's kind of a nice hedge. And then more importantly on longs, like I'd gotten aggressive on Uber recently. It bounced all the way to almost 64 yesterday. And I bought it some at 60 the day before. I said, listen, this is not a market to be greedy. So I sold a lot in positions like NVIDIA that we had added 131 through 128 or so. I was like looking at it at 135. I'm like, I'm not worried about the old days where it goes right to 140. I'm trimming down. And that's what we did into the Fed meeting. Then out of fairness, I said, listen, I don't think I'm the only guy who expects a hawkish cut. So the market should not be shocked. I expect a pullback, but I don't know if it should be down too much. And this is when the Qs are down 4 or 5. Then he started to speak. Then he actually, as most people know by now, made a little faux pas there, where he kind of said they're screwed in terms of inflation. I assume you know what I'm referring to, where most people don't. He literally kind of admitted, ooh, we might have an issue. He didn't mean to say it the way he said it. Perhaps more importantly, he said one line, which was enough for me, was, we are in a new phase. And then I told Inner Circle, to me, that's him saying, cuts are over. Now, I'm not saying they're over. I'm saying he's recalibrating the market and saying the bottom line is, whether you think it was 4 and now the market has us at 2, it's recalibration time, which simply means take your foot off the gas and start to look at the market maybe with more discipline, how you buy things, the type of stocks you buy, the quality you buy, and so on. And that one line, it took me a while to get it. Normally I am so on Fed meetings. And this one we were prepared, but I didn't get aggressive on the short side, which I was pissed about. And then once he said that line, I was like, okay, at least I know to stay the F out of the way. Once he said, this is a new phase, it was him saying, just literally look at your work. And whatever you thought it was 2 months ago, it's a new game right now. Now, of course, if things like PCE are really soft on Friday and we continue to get numbers that dictate we're soft, then we don't have to worry as much. We will get a big bounce. But for right now, it means there's certain types of assets that were a little crazy. We're going up every day, the quantum and the stocks that basically won't have revenue till 2026, 27, but people are going to be less interested in. And I actually wrote this on Twitter yesterday, and it tells you where we are in the market. I wrote, it's a new game. and it's been a lot of fun, but you got to adjust. That's our job. Like I never knew when the game's going to change. When I shorted Tesla, it was overbought. It was an extreme I've done well with before. I didn't know the market was just going to fall apart, right? But I knew my risk reward set up to be short. My point is, whenever it happens, then you're given evidence. The evidence is the bond market is not happy, right? 10-year yields not friendly. And literally, he said it's a new phase. So we adjust. And it is a new game, which means like quantum computing stocks. I had some guy on Twitter yesterday who's like, if it's a new game, why are these stocks holding up? Well, sure enough, I'm looking at these dinky stocks. One's down 26%, one's down 24%, and another one's down 10%. By the way, the Nasdaq's still green, barely. So my point is, it is a new game. You got to adjust. You got to be a bit more serious in what you invest in. And that's how we're going about this.
You mentioned PCE. PCE is on Friday. This is, of course, the Fed's preferred inflation gauge. The expectations are a bump to 2.5% on the headline number and 2.9% on the core number year over year. We'd gotten to the point for the market where it felt like the inflation numbers didn't matter anymore, and we were all about the labor market. Do inflation matters now matter? Inflation numbers now matter again in the market?
Yeah.
So when it comes to,
yes, just yeah.
Okay.
New
So when
phase
it
of the
comes
market.
to Friday, so Friday, we're going to get this number at 8:30 in the
Triple
morning. You
witch.
expect it to?
And
there's a lot happening on Friday.
Yeah.
So
and
a much
most
more
people are in
morning
Aspen
than,
or St. Bart's, so there's a lot of bids not around. So who the hell? We can get a crazy rally on top of it.
So you think we need a softer number, not an inline number, to get a bunch of moving?
But I think because now people realize maybe he is more data dependent than we realize, it also can lead to some big rallies. Here's what I told people to prepare for: more volatility. I get it. A lot of people are like, look at the VIX, the size of the move. That indicates you got to be long. And it's usually the sign we're close to a bottom. But I like what Josh Brown said just now on Fast Money, which is what I told Inner Circle. We're barely down. As a percentage, this is like nothing. We're not down 10%. This just may have started. If it is, you want to have some firepower to buy because it will be a buyable market, but not just because we're down 4% or something. You know what I mean? And the Qs can get to the 50-day, and it won't even be a full 10% correction. Yeah. So I think we have to just recalibrate how we buy things. And the way I mentioned this yesterday was I've been buying stocks way above the 8-day average on pullbacks and killing it. That's not normal. Now we got to wait for them to pull back to the 8 and 10 day. And it's just going about things in a little bit more disciplined fashion and what you buy, how many stocks you carry, and how aggressive you are at certain times. Like I bought the Qs. One last thing. I bought the Qs earlier today. First thing I did was short the Qs this morning, right? 521. I'm like, thank you. And I didn't look for a home run. We were out after a couple points. But my point is, and then later in the day, as they flushed, I said, expect them to go about flat, and then we'll start to get low. Then they went up 3, right? I didn't say, oh my God, I caught the bottom of the market. I'm smart. I was like, I'm lucky. I'm up 3. I'm out. And now they're back down. I think we're in for some volatility. Put on your trading cap, less your investor cap. So we have a pullback that's more investable, like 10% or something like that.
Yeah, but the drop yesterday felt really dramatic. But like you mentioned, we're not even in a correction territory. A stock that is in correction or was, NVIDIA is bouncing now, but did hit that official correction territory down 10%, is NVIDIA. We're getting a bounce today, up 2.5%, right at the 132
versus the market. It's really special, actually.
The leader has been, of course, Tesla versus NVIDIA in the past since the election. And Tesla down today, NVIDIA up. Do you think we return more to, just investing or just trading in those Mag 7 big cap tech names and less in the pool of small caps and mid caps?
Interest rates don't affect them the way they do smaller companies. And whether true or not, all that matters is narrative. The narrative is higher rates for longer make it hard for small caps to operate, pay more for debt, grow quickly. It doesn't affect Amazon the same. It doesn't affect NVIDIA the same. So people buy it. It's partially true, but even if it's not that much true, that's the narrative, and that's the way stocks will trade. So we get some really soft inflation data, or maybe the jobs market falls apart, which it's probably not. but something will have to change.
Did Powell ruin the possibility of a Santa Claus rally, or you think in a week the market will be moved on to the next thing?
Truth? I don't know. Here's what I know. I think he ruined the possibility for the silly part. Very often, if you have a lot of gray like me, you know, during Santa Claus, during Thanksgiving, the silly stocks, they go the most, right? These dumb little stocks with smaller floats that the bench who's still around trading on Wall Street while everyone's gone, they can move them because the floats are smaller. I don't know if you're going to see like quantum stocks go up 100% next week like you could have, right? Or some Bitcoin alternative. And it might be, oh, Amazon goes up a lot because it's Christmas and NVIDIA does well. So maybe the type of Christmas, like it doesn't have to be over, but maybe it's going to be a little bit more of a sedated one with less fanfare of $2 stocks that go to $6.
Less than two weeks left in the year. Yeah, for trading. Yes. What are your expectations for beginning of the year, January effect? What names are you looking at for a January effect type trade when it comes to the new year?
Well, a lot of that happens now. January effect happens a lot of it now. And we've played a couple. Celsius was just kind of a focus one for us that worked well. But here's an example of how we're trading right now. We made a few bucks. I think maybe max it was $3. I was like, I'm getting out. I'm not going to be a home run hitter. There's a January effect play. The company's not doing well. It's time to get out. So we sold it. And now it's not. It's way below where I sold it. We sold it like almost near 32. It's 27. I'll look at some plays like that if I think they'll be around, but not excited. I said I'm going to be a trader first for the first time in many months, an investor second. And when we pull back enough and I see names to invest in that I've been waiting to pull back that are too expensive, i.e. a Kava, which is breaking down and maybe is going to continue to pull back, I can't wait to invest. But for now, I'm going to be a trader. So this morning, Q's long, then they pull back 6, long, excuse short, then they pull back 6, we got long. Tesla, this morning I said, listen, if Tesla rips, just press your button and short it. I covered early and I made $7 or $8 short Tesla. My partner Rick bought puts that went up 100%. I think he still has them. I don't know. Maybe he just closed them. Look at the range on Tesla, 456 to 420. You don't have to be a good trader to make a lot of money in a range that big. So understand there's some volatility. I think traders can take great advantage of it. I think you can carry a little less in terms of positions and overnight. Would not be shocked if the market rallies. The Dow is down 10 days in a row if you take out today, prior to today. So are we due a rally? Sure. Is it happen at the end of today or tomorrow? I don't know. But I know that volatility probably continues a bit, and I'll carry less positions, and I'll also take losses more quickly, and keep them, keep my book tight.
You mentioned those puts by Rick this morning. Something you guys have been doing in the inner circle a lot lately is adding some alpha to your equity trades using options. So just an example, since over the past week and a half, you had Tesla puts that went up 72%, Broadcom puts up 113%, Palantir puts 100%, Upstart calls 160%.
You're wrong. Those Upstart calls went up like 300%. You're cheating me there.
Okay, 300%.
I'm teasing, but that was last Friday.
But still, so I mean, exactly. So,
well, you don't have to take a lot of risk
with the options. Talk about that strategy, how you're adding that alpha using the options market.
2 things. When you're fading a conventional strong trend, which so many traders are taught not to do, there is still a way to do it if you quantify your risk and don't get haphazard and short thousands of shares of a Palantir. You can't look at it into a level and like your risk reward and say, I am willing to lose this amount of money via puts if I think my gains are worth it. So that's what we do when we're fighting a trend. And then when I think it's about to really break, I size up, often shorting the stock. So that helps. And then on the flip side, when you think the market's overbought and nuts, right? Let me go with Google. Google was, for me, a buy at 165. That's where I own the stock from, and got flat yesterday at $201. Now, as it was raging off the Willow news, did I want to buy more stock? Not really. I was up 30 some odd points. Not really appetizing to buy more stock up there. But we'll buy calls on pullbacks, especially short-term calls, to add some alpha to that trade. So it's a way to add risk while also not getting out of hand and taking maybe more risk than you should in a market that was clearly overbought prior to yesterday. So that's how we do it. It's really about managing risk on the short and long side. So many people think of options as a way to get rich. I think of it as a way to manage risk and maybe get lucky and make a lot of money. But it's first manage risk as opposed to other people, which are like, I'm going to put 100 grand in and make millions. That's not the way I think of it. I think of it as what a great way to be able to go to sleep at night, not take more risk than you can sleep with, and perhaps get some leverage-like returns rather than 5 or 10% on a stock, maybe get 30 or 40%. If I make 100%, I'm pumped.
Yeah. All right, so you say you're putting on your trader cap versus your investor cap heading into the end of the year post-Fed meeting. What are some of the levels and setups on certain names that you're monitoring as potential trades?
So Tesla, we talked about today. I said 430 were last night's lows, and get below that and get ugly. Now we've been long it since 222 after earnings. I didn't get flat till a couple days ago, and then got short. So where might I come back into it? Well, the almighty 21 days at 385. Now I know no one makes money trying to be exact. So if I see this stock at 400 or below, I'm going to start adding to Tesla again. Would I be excited at 400? No. I'd be excited as we get closer to the 21-day, which is sloping upwards. So by the time I buy it, if I get lucky enough to buy it, it'll probably be closer to 390 or so, but closer to the 21-day. Right now, it's an incredible chart just hanging out on the 10-day, but we were that overbought. It was 50 points above the 8-day. So there's a name, natural pullback. This is like normal. Stock just, it's one of the largest companies in the world at this point. It's not Apple-like, but it's large. It just doubled, right? So anyone who didn't expect this is nuts. Next, what are other leaders? Well, of course, Bitcoin. It's still going to work. It's a matter of from what level. Well, if we go back down to 90, 91,000, you'd be sure as hell I would add back to my position like I did a week ago on that nutty correction after hours when we went to like 91,000. What else works? Well, NVIDIA, turns out they're doing pretty well. I heard they're involved in AI or something. So just like we did earlier in the week, if it got low enough, I'd buy it. Now, am I going to buy it full steam ahead? No. Like that, we do that on major corrections in NVIDIA against averages. It still kind of looks like it wants to press lower. So where would I get excited? I get excited 115 to 120, that area, if we ever have a real pullback. And I'm going to kind of up my quality of names. In other words, like I joked around for a while and I said, I love Asana. It was Affirm. It was TEM, lockup time. But I also know these are not the stocks everyone's rushing to now. So I have to adjust and up the quality. And quite frankly, it'll be more big and mid cap. Someone asked me about biotech today because there are times I focus on it and I've done well. I haven't bought XBI or touched it in weeks, and they were about to buy it. And I was like, dude, I think you take a deep breath. I don't see any reason to buy it. But can it become a value play? And can you buy some XBI if it just gets like demolished, which it already is? But if it continues to get demolished, sure. But right now, most of it is going to be big cap tech, banks that can still thrive in a less interest rate cuts environment. So gave you the Tesla, gave you the NVIDIA. I would come back to Affirm. And the level I gave today, and it's kind of last I saw breaking down, said 5860 is a name it's done really well by us. 5860 do well. Uber, we did great in a short-term trade. It's still under fire. It's kind of broken. If it got really ugly, mid 50s, I'd be back in Uber. But I'm definitely not in a rush on those types of names. It's going to be more big cap. So I'm going to let them come to me. If I miss them, I miss them.
All right. Okay, quickly before we go, we've got a question in right at the end here. Jason wants to know, what about AMD? It's been beaten down.
Are they still in business? I'm teasing. So listen, Lisa is a bona fide rock star, right? She took, this was a $3-4 stock. I remember I owned half the float for me when it was a $5 stock and Goldman did a secondary. It's been a rough year. I honestly don't know, because you're hearing evidence that suggests that the reason you'd buy this stock for their growth, we know it's about AI, right? Which is from a smaller base. So I always thought, ooh, in 25, given the smaller base they're coming from, this could be a stock that works great, even if the market's not great, right? Part of it is the law of large numbers works in their favor because they're not large. But now you're hearing from analysts, they may not make those numbers. And then you think, at the greatest moment, the advent of AI, when everyone's going crazy, if they can't make the numbers, I don't know if it's going to work. So here's how I look at a stock like this. I look at it like when it gets really oversold, will I bet on that jockey to figure things out? Are the numbers low enough in terms of AI that she can really show amazing growth? Probably yes, and I would buy it. Is it ugly? Yes. Is it broken? Yes. Is it broken every level on the chart? Yes. And is there probably last minute tax loss selling for anyone who doesn't think ahead? Yes. So there's nothing I can tell you like it's time, but it's pretty darn ugly. And I'll bet on Lisa Su to some degree here. But if like some traders out there and wants to focus on AMD, like, check yourself before you wreck yourself, because like there's got to be something better than AMD, right? But if you want to invest, would you invest in a great jockey who took this from a $4 stock to 220? Okay, I'll bet on Lisa. I think she'll figure it out. That's how I look at it. Very messy, perhaps starting to be an okay investment.
While we're on the topic of chip makers besides NVIDIA, Micron getting wrecked today after earnings last night. The earnings beat, but the second quarter guidance wasn't great. Any thoughts on Micron?
Just memory tried to bill itself as a growth company, tied into NVIDIA, no longer this low margin, memory company. Yeah, it's a low margin memory company. I don't care about it, and I'm not buying it, and nor should you. Game over. Not interested.
Yeah, and then Karen wants to know if you have any thoughts about Netflix.
About which one?
Netflix.
My partner Rick makes so much money in it. I'm so jealous. I didn't pay attention to the story as I should have. It's been amazing, best in breed, but I think it needs a rest. I mean, it's been an amazing run. I think it could use a rest, and I think if you're first buying Netflix, I would wait. I think it could pull back some. But boy, it's done everything right. Doesn't trade at an obscene evaluation. So I have nothing bad to say about it. And boy, this guy killed it on Inner Circle with it. So every time he was selling it for a profit, I'm like, oh, not again. How do I keep missing this? By the way, Ted's, the guy who runs the company is bright as can be. It's not obviously Reed anymore. It's just a great company, great CEO. Not a bad word I could say about it.
All right. David is a real trader, so I want to let him get back to it. But for everyone who's with us live, if you'd like to apply to work with David in the Inner Circle, you can go to t3live.com/DP. That's a screenshot from the room last week. I can't remember the last time I had such a good day. Had the best day. I've been having a lot of great days. Outstanding day. And I see messages like this daily in the room. So great guidance from David and Rick and Kira as well. There in the Inner Circle. So you can go to t3live.com/DP to apply. David and I are going to take a bit of a break until the new year. So we'll be back in January. David, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And a Happy Hanukkah as well. So everyone
have a great holiday.
See you in the new year.
Thank you for joining.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye, David.